Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe where we help and heal one day at a time. We're going to talk a little bit more about the brain damage, whether we should stay or not, what actually is going on in our minds as well as the narcissistic mind. So we're just going to start out with the brain damage that is caused to us if we stay in these relationships. The amygdala, there's three parts of the brain we're going to talk about. The amygdala, that's kind of our fight or flight area. It's responsible for fear. It's almost like that's where our adrenaline rush comes from. And due to its increased use, because we're always like on edge, always afraid of how to communicate with our narcissist or what the outcome's going to be. So we're always afraid. We're also afraid, do we lose them forever or are we losing them now? So because of that increased use of our amygdala, it actually leads for it to enlarge, leads to anxiety in us, more distress, and that's increasing our fear response. So we're in like a very uncomfortable state. And then the hippocampus, that's where our short-term memory converts into long-term memory. So this one actually, the hippocampus shrinks, and it'll lead to a decrease in learning. We're going to have an inability to learn new things easily. And I've noticed that in myself. I've been to law school, nursing school, master's education, just learning. But when I go through these things, it's hard for me to even these little kid animal classes. Like I can't even think what animal I'm looking at. It gets hard sometimes. It starts to make you feel crazy. That's another type of the crazy making outside of the crazy making of our reality in the relationship. Just a crazy making, like, am I losing my mind? Am I going through dementia? It's actually some of the brain damage that we're going through. The cortex, that's where we do our planning, decision making. It's also responsible for memory, our attention span, and the cortex will shrink as well. So now we have a smaller cortex. So we're going to have less of the ability that we had at the beginning of the relationship to do those tasks, to make decisions, to think things through, to plan things. So not only are we going through a depression, which makes us kind of not as motivated, but now we don't have as large of a cortex to make that possible. So actual brain damage is happening. And in the narcissist, in my other video, I did mention that their amygdala releases something that soothes them every time they lie. And that's why it's almost like they're addicted to the lies, even on small little things. Like, yeah, I used a spoon to eat my spaghetti today. They didn't. It's the dumbest little lie, but it soothes them somehow. It gives them control over messing with our minds. They might think it's funny or whatever it is. They just need to calm themselves because they're in a heightened state too of distress because of everything that they went through. And you guys can kind of relate in a sense with the uncomfort feeling that you have inside where it just doesn't go away. They have an uncomfortable situation as well, and they're striving to squash it. They don't know exactly what's causing it. Sometimes they might research it. Usually we're so like mind blown that we reach out, like we have to have answers. But they're in that childlike state where they're not, a 7-year-old after they throw a fit. They're not gonna be like, man, why did I do that? Like, what caused that? What was my trigger? So they don't really even go to it. If they do recognize what their trigger is, they'll lash out at us and put the blame on us and make everything our fault to kind of squash what their feelings are. And I had made another video where with the stop and think, there's little voices that'll go on inside our heads when we know that we need to take a step back or correct our actions or take time to listen to the person. And inside their mind, they don't want to release that because it's just too uncomfortable. I had responded to somebody in one of my comments. If you see my cold burn video, I was a burn victim, and my form of survival, I walked up to the barbecue, and then it exploded. I was on fire, running around. They were rolling me out. And then all of a sudden I'm in the front yard. So I blocked out from walking up to the barbecue. All of a sudden I'm not even in my dress anymore. It melted onto me, so I had like hot plastic on me, but I'm all of a sudden in the front yard in a pink and white towel waiting for the ambulance. So during that time, I blocked it out. No matter how hard I try to remember, my body's saying, don't do it. Don't do it. We are not going to give you that memory. It's probably in there somewhere. But with the narcissist, their silent, or their silent voice is in there, but they don't want to let it out. Just like I don't want to let my burn memory out. So they keep it tucked there, just like my memories are there. Their ability to use that inner voice, every now and then they might, but for the most part, it's too uncomfortable. And their brain is telling, no, we're keeping that back there. Because when they use that inner voice, they have to reflect on themselves, on what am I doing wrong? Or what is causing this situation? Or why are they coming asking me these things? Do I need to compromise? Do I need to do this? Do I need to take the focus off of myself? So by them handling the situation the way that they do, whether it's gaslighting, silent treatment, the crazy making stuff that they do, actually causes brain damage in us. And it can lead to physical things too. You know, depression, can anxiety, all these things can lead to heart attack. They can lead to death. You're more susceptible to cancers and upset stomachs, which throws everything off. Eating too much, eating too little. It causes interruptions in our family lives. We might snap at our kids more. So it's so destructive in so many different ways. Physically, there's brain damage. There's other types of physical damage. It causes lack of sleep a lot of times. And that's another thing that affects our attention. So not only do we have a smaller cortex now, we're not functioning at full capacity because we're not eating right, we're not sleeping right, we can't focus. Things take a lot longer. They take away our motivation, because sometimes it's now we're having a hard time making decisions because our cortex is smaller. So now we're frustrated, and it snowballs out of control. Sometimes we just want to calm what we're feeling because that amygdala is kind of in overdrive, and it's damaging us day by day. It's almost like we can feel it. And I'd like you guys to comment below, because it's weird that I'm sad. I recognize being sad, but it's like my body. It's not a broken heart type of pain. It's a physical type of pain that I go through because I'm sad. I cry, ruminate, think about things. But I believe I'm at a better coping area in my life. But the physical pain, I can't get to stop. I can stop the, let's get sad and think about them. And I can snap out of that, but I can't snap out of the way my body feels. And it's the weirdest thing, because I was on high anxiety for the longest time, waiting for what we were going to do, promises for 2 years, and then instantly cut off. There's been a couple times where this one we were like planning a future, and I just, freaked out, asked if he was dead, and you, of course, don't get a reply. I even told him, that I feel like, I just need an answer. Like if my child was taken from me, you just need the relief that you're kind of not wasting your time looking for this kid if you don't want your kid dead, but you're searching and crying and you're not processing. You don't know what to process. Do I process my kids, held up somewhere, or is my kid dead? You don't want your kid to be dead, but if they are, process it, cry about it, live your life. Miss them for the right reasons, don't waste your time searching for them. Take the time to grieve. And when you're asking somebody, basically, is our relationship dead? Are you dead, like physically dead? Because we're good. And now, then we freak out. So I'm like, if I irritated you, just, be mad at me, but just tell me you're alive. And, so the damage that causes, the stress that it causes, the coldness that we get from them, it not only are we going through all these different changes in our brain, physically, we're also intelligent people, where now we're feeling crazy, where nothing's making sense, or when you're in that relationship, some things seem off. There's always like questions in our mind. They make us question our own reality. And it can be exhausting. It can change so many different aspects of our life. A lot of times, sometimes they will kind of force isolate us, but other times too, they make us isolate ourselves, because we don't want to be around all our friends crying all the time, or talking about negative things. So we just start avoiding our friends, or we're depressed, so we don't go out. So now we're not being asked to do things with them anymore, because we always say we can't. So narcissistic relationships damage who we are so severely, but it's little piece by piece, that we often don't see it coming, because we know what happened at the love bombing stage. We see how they are with other people. With the breadcrumbing, we start thinking things are going to get better. With the intermittent love bombing, we're like, okay, they're trying again, and then our whole world gets turned upside down. And that's where I'd mentioned where the trauma bond begins, is intermittent reinforcement. Just like you should be able to talk to each other, like sometimes they'll text you back every day, especially like if you're married, they should text you back, and then other times it's like, we were saying good morning before we both started work. We just, good morning, sweetheart, have a great day. And then, after a couple times, and you even ask like, hey, can we do this? Because it really brightens my day. Of course, but then they stop doing it for no reason. And then they might, give us some crazy excuse. So you're like, okay, well, at lunchtime, can you do it? And when it's so intermittent and so easy to do, it causes a trauma bond. Like now we're like, don't you care about me? Or I thought we were doing it and this is helping our relationship. And it's only 2 seconds, can't we just do that? Like, is it that big of a deal? It kind of is to me. It's only going to help, or even just discuss that, let's not do that. We'll do something different, to kind of connect with what our needs are, what their needs are. But just the amount of damage that these relationships can cause, especially with the hard discard, with the new supply, what exactly is that person going through? If you read all these different comments from all these different people across all of YouTube, and then you want to know what's going on with the new supply, all these people, including myself, were new supplies to their narcissist at some point in time. Whether it was me, you, or any of these comment writers, they were a new supply. Look at their stories. Look at their stories. Some of them got married. Some of them were in dating relationships, long term. So if you're thinking that this new supply is happier, read across all those stories. Every one of us was a new supply at one point in time. Narcissists do kind of learn, and also as they get older, they might want to latch onto something to secure, because they're, getting a little bit older in life. Also, I heard something that my two narcissists, both ended up with somebody 10 years younger. One was 13 years and the other was 10 years younger. And it's kind of, you know, ironic, both of them. And a lot of times they'll go for a younger supply. And I'm not talking 2 or 3 years. Both of them over 10 years, because they see them as more trainable. When I look at my analytics on my YouTube, the ages are 35 to, I believe, 55, somewhere in there, 35 to 55. And that's when we're starting to become aware of what narcissism is. So the younger they are, the less likely they are to know something's wrong, to notice any red flags. And in the 30, 35 to 45, it's somewhere in there, analytic. I don't know if they're like 43 on up or they're 35. But the older we get, the wiser we become, hopefully. And same with a narcissist though. They're learning more tricks and traits and what works. Plus they're, if we look back, it's like we didn't take all those trips. Well, both of mine were in the younger stage of their lives. So they didn't have as much money. They didn't have as much freedom, whether it's kids or whatever. I had a daughter with one. But during the freedom stage and more financially set stage, they can do those love bombings to the hilt. And they also, want to kind of jab us back. One thing I did notice, I know a lot of them cheat, but mine were always in pretty long relationships. Theirs were pretty long. Can you comment below on if you've had long-term relationships with a narcissist? I know some of you bail, you wise up quickly, but they are able to have long-term relationships. They know who to pick. And what I find so ironic, interesting, whatever you want to call it, is they usually have a little backup supply that they end up discarding you for. But before you even break up, all of a sudden you find the love of your life for the next significant amount of years. And I'm not like that. I never understood. Every now and then, that could happen, it could. But both of them, just boom, instantly, love of my life, love of my life. What? And it's hard to understand how you found the perfect person. Congratulations. If you break up, that's okay. You'll find the perfect person again in a week. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's where the lack of empathy can be seen, is, they're not caring about our feelings, or they're not caring about the relationship itself. Like, did we do something wrong? It was so easy to just drop it. To just, I'm done. I'm done. No looking back. No looking back. Maybe not even to get back together, but to just maybe do the apologies or, acknowledgement. If you have children together, what kind of smear campaign did you go through? I went through some crazy stuff, and no matter what you do, it was all twisted around on you. They don't like to listen to logic. They'll turn it around that you have ulterior motives when you're like, no, please just listen to what I'm saying. They have a false sense of themselves, a false perception in how to handle things. And for them to feel better, they physically destroy us without laying a hand on us. So if you got out of your relationship where they never physically harmed you, I was pretty lucky. I did not have physical harm. What do they say? Sticks and stones may break my bones. What does it go? But yeah, just the words that people use can cause so much damage. So I'm sending you guys a big hug. Let me know if you have any topics you want to talk about, and I will see you in the next video. Stay healthy.